Scott and Taylor here at Evan Music.
I'm Scott. That's Taylor.
I'm Taylor. Today we're going to show you how to change your strings on a steel string pin bridge acoustic guitar.
Hey Taylor, can you use barbed wire?
No.
I had an uncle that told me once you could use fishing line, works just fine.
He was wrong.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Man.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about changing your strings on a steel string pin bridge acoustic.
Without barbed wire or fishing line?
No, no, proper strings.
Yes.
It's a skill that I think everybody should learn. It'll help you out a lot. It'll save you some money.
I'm going to throw out, just so you know, I don't think there's ever a need to tie your strings in a knot on the guitar.
No, we're going to show you
Unless you're talking about a classical.
Yeah, that is true. You do have to tie knots on those. But on a steel string acoustic guitar, on an electric guitar, don't tie any knots. We're going to show you a way to quickly and easily put them on, but then more importantly, take them off. Because, you know, sometimes we get in guitars that people are just kind of like went crazy on, and it takes 20 minutes just to get the strings off. We're not going to do that. We're going to show you a quick and easy way.
This is not, we're not saying this is the perfect way. This is just the way that we have worked out that I think works perfectly for us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is take the strings, the old strings off. Hang on a sec. Let's talk about our tools. So we have a little pair of channel pliers. There's all kinds of bridge pin pullers and fancy cutters and all kinds of tools. We actually sell some of them. To be honest, most of the time here, we're using a pair of good old household channel pliers to both cut the strings and remove the bridge pins. Good quality peg winder will save you a lot of time. You could sit there and do it with your fingers if you want to, but you're going to be there for
a lot quicker.
Yeah. We're going to use a little bit of 4/0 steel wool.
4 zeros.
4 zeros to clean the frets. Just while we have the strings off, it's a good idea to just give them a little polish.
Polishes the frets, gets a little grime off there, and the strings will slide and kind of glide nicely on those.
Of course, we need our strings. We're going to use Diodario EJ16s.
Good all-around string.
Yep. A little bit of lemon oil. This is not absolutely necessary, but, you know, depending on how dry the guitar is and depending on how often you do it, it's a good time. We're going to go ahead and do it today.
And this lemon oil or fingerboard oil only needs to go on dark wood fingerboards.
That's true.
Maple fingerboards have a finish on them. These don't. So
yeah, if your fingerboard has a finish on it, don't do that. Unless you want to just slide all around.
Absolutely.
A little bit of guitar polish. This, again, is a Dunlop 65 polish. And then, of course, we're going to need to tune it up when we're done.
Oh, it has to be a tune?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Well, it doesn't have to be.
No,
but
who's to say what tune is?
Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take off the old strings. You guys get to sit there and watch while we detune. The reason why we do this, I have seen people just take your cutters and just clamp them up. It's not really great for the tension. You want to take that tension off the neck gradually.
That neck kind of just relax a little.
So we definitely want to detune the strings before we cut them.
So like when you go to sleep at night, would you say you're detuning yourself when you're relaxing in bed?
Probably. That's
Absolutely.
That's a good equivalent. I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of melatonin gummies. You guys?
You know, melatonin is the detuning of the body.
Yeah. Relaxes you gradually.
Absolutely.
For me, it takes about 15 minutes, but then I'm out.
Yeah. It's because your melatonin is detuning.
It's detuning me, and I'm ready.
Now you're good.
Now we're cutting. So doing it this way, we've got 2 sections of string now. We're going to take these out, and then we can take this off. So on a properly installed string, you should be able to just give it a little twist-a-roo. The method we're going to show you, there's no hook under there, so you can just give it a little twist, a little pull, and these strings are going to come right off. This is a Martin 00018, by the way. Fantastic guitar, but it was the candidate today because it needed a little bit of love and some new strings.
I will say new strings always make you feel like you got a new guitar. Will they make me? Yes.
So we're going to apply a little bit of this. There's a little applicator on the tip. A little dabble, mostly do you. We don't want to go slathering it on. I like to rub in with my finger so that it spreads out evenly and...
Think of it as like putting lotion on your dry skin.
Yep. You don't want to go too much. You're going to be all slippery. But just enough, and the wood, if it's at all dry, it'll soak that oil right up.
Should we do the bridge as well?
We should. A little bit on the bridge. Any exposed wood, like Scott said earlier, you know, on your finished woods, you don't necessarily need to do this. You actually don't entirely, but ebony, rosewood, those unfinished woods. Just gonna wipe off the excess here. This particular guitar, this type of tuner, we don't need to do anything to the tuners, but if you're changing the guitar, if you're changing the strings on like a set of Grovers, for example, sometimes these nuts get loose, so that's a good time to tighten up any of your loose nuts and all that stuff while you have the strings off. We're also going to do a little bit of wiping, a little bit of cleaning.
Anytime you have the strings out of the way, it's a good opportunity to clean underneath all those spaces that you can't normally get to. The strings tend to be kind of cumbersome and in the way. When you see dust underneath there's dust will always collect under there because you can't get to it. So while the strings are off, it's just a good idea to go ahead and give the guitar a wipe down or on the fingerboard if the strings are out of the way. The strings get in the way.
And people may be less particular at home. Certainly in the store, we like things to look as nice as possible, so we take the extra time to do that. All right, guys, now it's going to be time to put on our new string. Yeah. So what they do is they actually have color-coded pins. So if you ever forget what string is which, it's color-coded. So that makes it really easy.
Sometimes they're so close in size they're hard to tell apart. So the little colored balls make it a little easier to know which one's which.
So what we're going to do to get the new strings in is we have our slot, we have our string. Sometimes I even like to give it a little bit of a bend so it kind of goes up under there easy. Insert our string, insert our pin with the slot in place, press down on the pin, and tug up on the string. That gives it a good, nice seat. It's going to be seated up like so, right up against the bridge plate on the inside of the guitar. It'll be up there. Again, that's pressing down and tugging up on the string gets it seated.
If you don't give it that tug, a lot of times as you're tuning it up, those bridge pins will just pull out and pop out, and you have to start all over again.
Yeah, we've all had pins go flying across the room. Insert, tug up. Now, obviously it's time to attach the string, so we're going to come up here. So we're going to do the 6th string, the low E. I'm going to bring it in. Notice.
Do you need to use all the string?
Not at all. I was just about to say, we don't want to pull it all the way through. We want to have some slack here, okay? And then I always start winding by hand because it's just easier to control that way. But as you're winding up and you're coming back to the excess part of the string, take the top wind, go over the string. Because when we come back around, you can see that little kink is coming back around. We want the remainder of the string to go under the kink. Sometimes you gotta kind of help it. At that point, we can use our winder and finish. So one of the last steps to do is to cut off the excess string.
You mean you don't leave it like that?
Some people do, I always thought it was like, you see all these like rock stars on stage and they've got all these dangly strings everywhere. I'm thinking like, why? I think they just do that to make you think that they put them on themselves.
I call that tetanus waiting to happen.
Yeah. So we want to just go right up against the string, the backward part of our cutters, nice clean cut. We don't want a bunch of pokey parts sticking out. And then once we do this, it'll be time to tune it up and play it. All right, guys, it's a good idea also, once you're all tuned up, because these strings are going to stretch quite a bit before they'll really settle in, you can actually kind of help that out a little bit by just giving the strings a little bit of a tug.
Forcing a little stretch up front so you don't have to deal with it as much later.
Yeah. And it'll just kind of help to settle them in.
Yeah.
All right, we're all done, tuned up, and ready to play, guys.
Now you know how to change your strings.